What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Leo coming to you guys with yet another video, coming to you guys today with another reaction. Now, I was going to drop this video yesterday, but some things did come up to where I was not able to upload or record or anything like that, so I'm very, very sorry for that. But we're at it today with 10 worst WWE matches of 2012. 2012 has to be probably one of the, at least in my opinion, one of the worst years for wrestling in the WWE, in my personal opinion, just because of the things that we were seeing happen on screen. And it kind of just showed. It felt like WWE that year was mostly on autopilot. If maybe I'm the only one that feels that way, but I really hope that something did change, and things were different for 2012, because I mean, yeah, there were a few matches throughout the year that were very interesting to see play out, but at the same time, I can't give the pass all the way that this whole year was nothing to write home about, in my personal opinion. But we're gonna see what Cultaholic deems worst WWE matches of 2012. So let's get into it.
To the Mayan calendar, 2012 was supposed to be the year the world ended. As you can probably tell, it didn't, but perhaps some wrestling fans were wishing it would after sitting through these awful WWE matches. 2012 wasn't all bad, of course. CM Punk was WWE champion for the entire calendar year, which led to some really great moments and matches. The Shield debuted at Survivor Series, which would have huge ramifications over the next decade, and The Undertaker and Triple H put on a sensational Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania, which was definitely the last time they or Shawn Michaels were ever involved in a match together. Ever. Don't Google that. But we're not here to talk about any of the fun stuff. Instead, we are here for the matches that made our toes curl, our stomachs turn, and our brains question why we even started watching wrestling in the first place. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 worst WWE matches of 2012. Join us. Number 10, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar at Extreme Rules.
Eventually, they got it right. Eventually, they did get it right. But John Cena versus Brock Lesnar in 2012, Brock should have won against him, because think about it. John Cena, he lost at WrestleMania, and this would have been a great way to build that story arc to where he has hit rock bottom and now he has to find his way to scratch and claw his way back to the top. I would have loved to see that story play out on television, and him losing to Brock would have made all the sense in the world, and it would have made sense for Brock winning too, because he just came back. So if you want to reestablish him in the WWE, this would have been a great way to do it, by him beating the golden boy, so to speak, in John Cena. So I mean, but they ended up having John Cena win, which didn't need to happen.
Brock Lesnar gave the wrestling world one of its biggest moments in 2012 when he made his return to WWE after 8 years away. After winning the UFC Heavyweight Championship and doing a bit less well in the NFL, the Beast made a thunderous return to wrestling when he confronted John Cena on the Raw after WrestleMania. This set the stage for a matchup of epic proportions: Lesnar versus Cena at Extreme Rules with no disqualifications. Lesnar had to win, right? He was a guy with legitimate fighting experience in his first WWE match for nearly a decade against the guy who had just lost to The Rock in the main event of WrestleMania. Surely this was gonna be a slam dunk. Unfortunately, though, WWE didn't just miss the hoop, they managed to burst the ball and burn the stadium down all in one go. Cena beats Lesnar in a baffling booking decision that cut off Brock's momentum just weeks into his return run. The action leading up to this moment was fantastic, which is why the match is so low on this list, but the ending of the bout was utterly unforgivable. Number 9, Ryback.
Yeah.
Everything that
you're just, get off my screen. Like, I get the fact that they were having A-Train be repackaged Lord Tensai, and they wanted to reposition him and potentially get him to be a main event star, but that ship has sailed at that point, so it's like nobody really cared or really wanted to buy into the idea of him being a future world champion, or WWE champion for that matter.
On Raw. Formerly Skip Sheffield of the Nexus fame, Ryback re-debuted for WWE in April 2012 and was pushed to the moon. The guy with really big muscles got a monster push despite still being as green as grass? Doesn't sound like WWE at all. The big guy was given the Goldberg treatment, an undefeated streak with lots of short matches where he could show off what he was good at and hide what he was bad at. Much like Goldberg, Ryback's streak ended in dumb fashion too, but we will get to that later. On the October 1st edition of Raw, Mr. Feed Me More devoured Tensai in under 2 minutes, but still managed to make 2 quite noticeable mistakes. When he tried to hit the former Albert with his finishing move, Ryback visibly struggled to get the big man up. He tried to get him up on his shoulders a second time, only to drop him flat on his ass before hastily winning with a clothesline. It was a sloppy finish to an already pointless match, and it added more weight to the argument that Ryback was not yet ready for the main event. Number 8, Team Johnny versus Team Teddy at WrestleMania 28.
I remember watching WrestleMania 28. Literally the worst match on the card. I'm sorry. I did not enjoy the match whatsoever.
WWE had some pretty questionable feuds going on in 2012. John Cena versus Kane, Alberto Del Rio versus Sheamus, Natalya versus her own farts. Yes, that is a storyline that really happened. But perhaps the worst rivalry to take place that year was John Lauritas versus Teddy Long for control of both Raw and SmackDown. Both brands' general managers clashed for months as fans grew less and less interested with each passing second. Also, Raw and SmackDown were so similar at this point that it's difficult to work out why fans would care who was running the shows in kayfabe. This pointless storyline came to a head with a 6-on-6 tag team match at WrestleMania, where each GM's chosen champions would fight to decide which authority figure was the best. As the fans didn't give a toss about the outcome, there was absolutely no heat behind this match. The fact that it ended with The Miz pinning fan favorite Zack Ryder to give heel Lauritas the victory somehow made this pointless exhibition even worse. Oh, and then Eve Torres kicked Zack in the balls. That's what you get for getting yourself over online, kid. Number 7, Eve Torres versus Naomi at TLC.
I want y'all to understand, they buried Zack Ryder. This was a time where if you got over on your own, that was a big no-no. Like, Vince McMahon did not like the fact that he got over on his own, and he buried him for that. Like, you had him become U.S. champion. You could have propelled him to the main events level if you wanted to. And I think it would have been a great, compelling story just because we would have seen a new star be made. If we're being honest, if we're looking current day, this is the same thing that's going on. What a total opposite of what's going on. I'm not being buried or anything like that. But if we're looking about Joe Hendry, if you say his name, he appears. But Joe Hendry is exactly what Zack Ryder was supposed to be. Somebody that was generational, somebody that got mega over on their own through social media, and it created a groundswell of like fan support for him to see him potentially make it big in the wrestling business. And that's the same thing we wanted for Zack Ryder in 2011. And unfortunately, just because of the management, it didn't fall through. Now, if I was to say, if Triple H was booking a lot of stuff right now, and he was over like that, I feel like Triple H probably would have capitalized on that and potentially would have used him to the best of his ability and started him off in the mid-card like he did with the U.S. Championship and then propelled him up to the main event, and you could have had him become world champion at some point. I wouldn't have minded if they would have done that. But then as soon as they did that, he was losing to Jack Swagger. He got in that god-awful weird feud with Kane, then the Eve Torres stuff. It just was not it. But this match right here, Eve Torres versus Naomi, I mean, not taking anything from both women. I'm pretty sure both women tried to do the best that they could, but it just wasn't hitting for me.
The pre-show of TLC 2012 featured JTG versus David Otunga and a Santa's Little Helper Battle Royal to determine the #1 contender to the Divas Championship. I'm sure pay-per-view buys skyrocketed after those all-time classics. The Battle Royal, which narrowly misses out on a place here, was won by Naomi, who punched her ticket to face Eve Torres later that night. Hopefully she kept the receipt for said ticket because her journey was a waste of time. While Whilst she's very good in the ring these days, Naomi was just a few months into her WWE career proper at this point. This match showed that, as she looked extremely unsure of herself throughout. As for Eve, she's never exactly been a ring general, and the swinging neckbreaker that she used to win the match had about as much force behind it as an autumn leaf falling pleasantly to the ground. A poor showing from a time when women's wrestling was in a real bad way. Number 6, Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 28.
This right here. You had Sheamus win the Royal Rumble. I always say this, and I'm gonna keep saying this. Sheamus should not have won the Royal Rumble in 2012. It should have went to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho should have won it. He should have went on to face CM Punk for the WWE Championship, and maybe you could have had Chris Jericho win. Daniel Bryan, he was world champion, and the way you had him lose, but at the same time, he had him lose in 8 seconds, right? But at the same time, I feel like if they wouldn't have done that, it wouldn't have created the fan support that would have led to the Yes Movement. I might be the only one that feels that way, but comment down below, let me know. Do you think if Daniel Bryan would have probably retained, or if we didn't get this right here, do you think we would have still had the Yes Movement, or do you think something else would have happened? Let me know in the comment section down below.
Hindsight makes it really hard to know where to place this match. For many, Daniel Bryan losing the World Heavyweight Championship to Sheamus in just 18 seconds was the starting point of the Yes Movement. The change in attitude Bryan went through after this humiliation was what eventually led him to form Team Hell No, which raised his profile even higher. Then came the SummerSlam match with Cena, Orton's cash-in, WrestleMania 30, you know the rest. However, at the time, this match got fans absolutely fuming. After Sheamus won the Royal Rumble and chose Bryan as his opponent, the match had a good chance of being a great one. Two talented workers tearing it up on the biggest stage possible. Instead, Bryan was distracted by a kiss from AJ Lee before eating a brogue kick and then an immediate pin. Bryan was completely embarrassed, Sheamus's Rumble win felt massively undermined, and the fans were furious that this was the outcome of so much hype. It might have worked out well in the end, but this could have been a massive disaster. Number 5, Santino Marella versus Ricardo.
Just look who's involved, and you all know why it's on the worst list.
Rodriguez at No Way Out. God bless Santino Marella. He might be a little goofy, but he always puts 100% into every single stupid scenario WWE shoved him into. That being said, even he couldn't make this work. At No Way Out, the Milan Miracle went up against Ricardo Rodriguez. Whilst Ricardo did have some wrestling experience, Santino was facing a man most famous for being a ring announcer. And that says pretty much all you need to know about this match, if you even want to call it that. Aside from a brief sequence, there is very little actual wrestling here. Instead, it is two grown men trying to rip incredibly cheap-looking tuxedos off each other until one of them is left standing in his pants. And while we can certainly all agree that it's a unique stipulation, that still doesn't make for a great wrestling match. Unlucky, guys. Number 4, Cody Rhodes versus Big Show at Extreme Rules. I guess it's a bit...
Now, I think this was for the Intercontinental Championship, if I'm not mistaken, because I think Cody lost it against Big Show. Big Show became Grand Slam champion. Cody was still in the hunt for the Intercontinental title, so I think that's what he's referring to here. I might be wrong, but let's see.
Bit of a shame that Cody and Paul White didn't rerun this program when they were both in AEW, as they could have put right one of the worst WWE finishes of recent years. After an age of being humiliated at WrestleMania, Big Show finally got his big moment at the Showcase of the Immortals when he beat Cody Rhodes for the IC title. The Giant must have been running about 30 days slow at the time, because he actually managed to embarrass himself at Extreme Rules instead of at Mania. Big Show absolutely dominated the American Nightmare during their rematch, throwing him around like a ragdoll, but unfortunately for the big man, this was a tables match, and all Cody needed was one lucky shot. He got that shot when he drop-kicked Show off the apron. The champion stepped backwards, unaware that a table was right behind him, putting his foot through it and losing the match. So, just to wrap that all up, Big Show, whose whole story at the time was that he was finally being taken seriously after all these years, lost the championship because he accidentally stepped through a table. Just look at that face, he knows he's messed up. Number 3, CM Punk versus Ryback at Hell in a Cell.
This ruined Ryback. It ruined him because they were building him up as being this next big monster, like people were saying early in the video, that he was pretty much could be like taking on the likes of Goldberg potentially, but you kind of put yourself in a position because you didn't want CM Punk to lose the WWE Championship, but you couldn't ruin somebody that you've been building up for that entire year up until that point, who's been on a undefeated streak, and have him lose in that fashion. But what they do, they have Brad Maddox, who was the referee in that match, and use a low blow to help CM Punk retain and everything like that. So it kind of ruined Ryback potentially in its main event caliber of presence. So it didn't, and then the follow-up really wasn't all that good either. So yeah, this ruined Ryback for sure. I would have preferred if they would have not had him in this match, and maybe you held off on him for a later date, and then maybe his chances of winning probably would have been a little bit higher, but that's neither here or there.
Remember when we mentioned the rubbish ending of Ryback's undefeated streak earlier? Well, here it is. Ryback's run of dominance earned him a shot at CM Punk's WWE Championship inside Hell in a Cell. That meant the champ would have no help from his manager Paul Heyman, which stacked the odds firmly against him. In one of the shortest cell matches of all time, Ryback was about to win when the referee of all people hit him right in his big guys. He then fast counted the pin, giving Punk the victory. It was later revealed that the referee, former WWE wrestler Brad Maddox, had been paid off by Heyman to ensure Punk's victory. Whilst this sort of explained Brad's actions, the damage done to Ryback was irreversible. Having his undefeated streak end in such a lame way killed all his momentum stone dead, and he would never taste main event success again. Considering their options were either to have Punk lose the title or Ryback lose his streak, it's a bit of a wonder that WWE even booked this match in the first place. Number 2, Michael Cole.
Oh Lord. This was when Michael Cole was the Miz fanboy. It was annoying. He was glazing people power. He was glazing the Miz and everything like that. So and then you had the Raw Anonymous General Manager. Oh my God. Imagine being an 11-year-old kid and you're just seeing this week after week. It was annoying.
On Raw. Do I really need to explain why this match was bad? Just listen to that title again. John Cena versus Michael Cole. This was Cena at his most Cena-iest and Cole at his unbearable heel worst in an actual sanctioned match on Monday Night Raw. In another instance of two grown men ripping off each other's clothes, Cena stripped Cole down to his undies, embarrassing the former war correspondent in front of millions. He then proceeded to cover Cole with barbecue sauce, blast him with a fire extinguisher, and win the match. Honestly, we're not sure if it would have been better or worse if Cole actually pinned Cena after Tensai ran interference. The character of heel Michael Cole was annoying, but Michael Cole the person didn't deserve this, and nor did us fans. Number 1, John Lauritas versus John Cena at Over the Limit. Imagine John Lauritas versus John Cena, then put it on pay-per-view, and then have the non-wrestler win. Does that sound suitably horrible? Good, because it was. After Johnny Ace had been butting heads with Cena for about a year or so, it was finally decided that the two Johns should meet face to face in the ring, with the stipulation that if he lost...
What made this even crazier? John Laurinaitis actually won. He beat John Cena with the help of Big Show, of course, who aligned with them and had that whole ironclad contract thing going on, stuff like that. But the fact that you had John Cena lose to him is crazy. I will repeat, crazy.
to John Lauritas was fired. Now, we've all since accepted that John Cena is a great wrestler, but he's not the sort of elite-level talent that can drag a great match out of absolutely anyone. He can have an amazing bout with a great opponent, but 50-year-old John Lauritas was not a great opponent. In fact, the last time he had been a regular in-ring competitor was 12 years prior. So, for 17 agonizing minutes, Cena beat the ever-loving snot out of his boss before Big Show arrived, turned heel for the 465th time in his career, and cost Cena the match. Not only was the match itself long and tedious, not only was the final angle utterly nonsensical, not only does John bloody Lauritas have more pinfall wins over John Cena than Miro does, but it also main evented over the limit ahead of Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, that main evented over that match that we had between Daniel Bryan and CM Punk with the WWE title, which was really good. That match was not it. But comment down below, let me know what match do you think was the worst of 2012. If it was on this list, let me know what it was and why. And if it wasn't on this list, let me know what one of the matches should have been and why do you think that match should have been on the list. Let me know in the comment section down below. Road to 350 subscribers, but 50 subscribers, but the ultimate goal is 10K. When I do hit 10K, I will do a giveaway with one of my lucky subscribers. Will have the opportunity to win a WWE Championship from WWE Shop. So if you want to be a part of that and be the potential subscriber that does win that, subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. You can always change your mind in the future. But why would you do it? I'm trying to give you guys daily wrestling content. Super kick that like button, helps my channel get pushed across the platform. Some more people can see what I'm doing over on YouTube. Super kick that like button, helps my super kick that like button also as well. Superman punch that post notification bell. So every time I post a new video, whether it's a reaction video, rant video, live stream, any type of video, you can be in a loop of things when I do drop a video. And spear that subscribe button. Takes 3 seconds out of your day to do those 3 things for me. But with that being said, hope everybody has a great day, a great week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.